your unhappiness isn't actually doing anything for anyone. Just because you're trying and you're struggling and you're making a show of that doesn't actually contribute anything. I've definitely got a propensity to be an awkward person. But they've admitted to me that they're not able to be alone with themselves. The giving aspect is not about self-sacrifice. It's not about draining yourself for other people. I haven't filmed a video in a while, and I'm feeling like I guess I should have something to say. But I don't think making a video because you should have something to say is a good idea. But I'm going to make this video anyway because I probably do have something to say, but I just haven't given myself that platform, and so this is me giving myself that platform. Thoughts? Guess I'll just give you a bit of an update on what I am doing at the moment. So, I'm reading a book at the moment, which is Social Interest by Alfred Adler, A Challenge to Mankind. Now,
wow!
It's basically about individual psychology, which is a psychology put forward by a psychotherapist. I don't think he is a psychotherapist. He was a medical doctor in the First World War, and then he was a psychiatrist, I believe. But I read The Courage to Be Disliked, which is a book that basically amalgamates a bunch of his ideas and basically summarizes individual psychology, and I found it really interesting. I don't know, something really clicked with it for me, and that was probably about maybe a year ago now, and I've reread that book at least 4 or 5 times since. And there was a sequel as well, The Courage to Be Happy, that I also read. I'm not trying to sell these books. I am not in any way affiliated with them, but I do have a strong belief that they can help a lot of people, and they have been a massive help to me. So, and I will continue to study them, and that is why I've got the book written by Alfred Adler himself, which I'm currently studying, and it's called, I've already said, it's called Social Interest. And Social Interest, one of the ideas is that to feel complete as a human being, we need to be engaged in society for the purpose of contributing to society rather than gaining recognition from society. And the switch that we need to make to become happy with ourselves, or to become fulfilled, is that switch from self-interest to social interest. The switch from being concerned with your needs to being concerned with the needs of others. And they're very closely tied into each other, because you think that you need to get your needs met in order to be useful to society and to other people. So I guess that's just a summary of something that I'm reading. So sweet. Bye. Something that was on my mind today as well. So a lot of people, hang on, give me a second, I've got to think. I've noticed recently, and a few people have said this to me, or they've admitted to me, that they're not able to be alone with themselves. I've had this from a good few people, or people that have shown interest in that topic as well, people that say that they want to go away and do things on their own, and that I've inspired them in some way. And I've had other people that have said, or that have just admitted, that they struggle to do things on their own. And that for me is something that has definitely come more naturally. And I find that interesting, because I've always struggled with. I wouldn't say I've always struggled with, but definitely I've definitely got a propensity to be an awkward person and to not be completely socially like switched on and not really know what other people are feeling and what they're doing, and being a bit out of touch with that. And I think that is kind of the other side of why I'm able to deal with being alone so well, because it's kind of what I've always known. And it's not even that I deal with being alone as such. It's it's more like my independence has been mistaken by other people, I feel. Because my connection to other people has always felt, or for a long time it's felt, at such a distance that I couldn't close. It was almost too big of a thing to achieve. Or as much as I didn't want it, I didn't see the value in wanting to be a part of society in a way. And a lot of that is due to the way that I've been raised. And I'll get into that. I'm not saying that it was the fault of somebody else, but I am saying that the decisions that I made are, or they were, incorrect and produced a negative effect for me. And I think that's an important thing. I think that's an important thing to recognize, because sometimes very often things are not ideal, and it's not anybody's fault that they're not ideal, but just the fact of it not being how you wanted it to be still takes effect on you as a loss. And I think you've got to recognize that. And that is why I'm acknowledging this. So now, that isn't me saying that I've grown up in a dungeon or been raised by a pack of wolves, but being spoiled, which I have been in a sense, has its own problems, and there is still a loss, a grievance that you have to get over once you recognise that, or that's what has happened for me since I've recognised that I have been spoiled in a way. Because I realised that me being socially awkward, me dealing with that issue of feeling like an awkward person socially, is the result of me not wanting to engage in society and believing that the rewards of society should fall into my lap, essentially. The strange thing is I never perceived myself to be an awkward person until I got to a point where I needed to start becoming independent. And so now I'm at a point that I realise that I created that social anxiety so that I could run away from the relationships that I was getting myself into and that I was wanting to start, but that I didn't have the education that I needed on facing my life problems, which I expected from other people. But now I'm in a position where I can be that person for other people, and so that's why I'm teaching you this stuff, because I think it's very useful. And I know this is true, but it's still something that I'm getting my awareness around, and it's something that I would question you to consider, that you might be spoiled, and that your problem might not be that you're not getting what you want from life, but instead that you're demanding something from life that you actually don't deserve. But I don't think it's a question of deserving, really. I think it's just about giving as relentlessly as you possibly can. And that's something that you will struggle with if you were spoiled. And that's not a judgment against people who are spoiled. A, because I'm pretty spoiled, but B, because spoiled kids don't get what they need. Part of the solution for spoiled kids, or people that feel like they're not getting what they want out of life, is to give more. But it's more complex than that, because there are people that delude themselves into thinking that they're giving more when really they're just expecting return. It's all within that, within figuring out that dynamic, and that is what this book is very good at doing. And the problem with always getting what you want is that you don't learn that you need to give in order to be independent and to be self-reliant. You see, that's not an issue when you're in your childhood, because your parents are supplying for you, and being self-reliant doesn't even appeal to you, because why would it? But the thing is that in order to actually feel happy, there needs to be independence, and that requires you to firstly break away from the always like wanting to be given something dynamic or mindset, and shifting to the giving mindset, where, because this is the thing, the giving aspect is not about self-sacrifice. It's not about draining yourself for other people. That's actually selfish. And I think this is something that people don't understand. They run themselves into the ground, and they live this like unhappy like slog of an existence. They don't know why, so we can't judge that, or I'm not judging that. But the important thing there is that your unhappiness isn't actually doing anything for anyone. Just because you're trying and you're struggling and you're making a show of that doesn't actually contribute anything. And that is the shift. Because the funny thing is when you're happy every day, or when you're in this elated, it's not that simple. But when you're giving, you feel joy, right? It's a joyful thing to fully give, but it requires courage. This is going into the book, but because when you look into the motivation behind why somebody would drain themselves or give this show of them trying really hard, it's actually an attempt of manipulation to the people around them, so that they see them like working really hard and like struggling to do things, so that they feel sorry for them and give them some kind of recognition and or a pat on the back to say, oh, you're trying really hard, I can see that you're like, you know. There's not fulfillment in that. I think that's an important thing to recognise. I think that I have made it clear, but I just thought that I would clarify that by saying that I have been spoiled in some way, I'm not in any way. I don't believe that anybody else is to blame for that. And I believe that the failure was a result of a lack of knowledge more than anything. And for that reason, I think that education is the solution. Unfortunately, the education system doesn't actually teach us to become independent, but we do live in a time where the information is there if we seek it. And so I guess this is my suggestion, that curiosity might be a good thing for all of us, and that curiosity is the thing that's going to help you educate yourself. The way that you make a start on that is by following your interests. That is curiosity. But the people that say, oh, I don't know what I'm interested in, you're full of shit, firstly. Sorry, but you are. There's definitely something that you find interesting, or that you might think, oh, maybe I'll find that interesting. Even if you doubt your own interest, just get a book on the topic that you might find interesting, or listen to a podcast on the topic you might find interesting. There is no excuse, so get curious, motherfucker. So please do let me know if any of these ideas spark any thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, because the idea of this is that we can share these things and further our knowledge together. So please do let me know if you have something to say, and contact me, drop a message, blah blah, you know how. But I hope you enjoyed the video and have a good day. Ciao.